Hi. Sorry for the quick little interruption, but just to let you know that this is going to be my first review on anything in general. So if anything comes rough around the edges, I'm sorry about that. My apologies. Hopefully I get better at this with using the mic. But other than that, I don't want to take away from the whole actual review itself. So let's just get to the review and the speed paint. Hi. Welcome to a little bit of speed painting. So, the reason why I'm doing this is for about a month ago, I was given the opportunity to review a VEIKK, I think it's VEIKK S640 tablet, and I agreed upon it while making the while also agreeing that I'll make a video of some sorts, or at least some pictures for the review. Now, this is going to be what you're going to see right now. And I should just clarify that I'm not the most experienced with a tablet to this kind of degree. And what I mean by that, it's more those ones where it's kind of the mouse and it doesn't have a screen on it. So that's because I've mostly been using stuff, even from the beginnings, like a 3DS to a computer with the Galmon and like what do you call it, the Surface Pro. So this has been like a first time experience with me, and I just start off saying that I really did enjoy the time learning to use something different for once. And it had its own couple of challenges, but it also had some other things that I liked more than some of the stuff I've been used to. So things are going to be a little shaky, especially with the line art, since that's not my best thing to work on when it comes to digital work, even with the screen. I think I used to do a better job with one of my older tablets, but yeah, we'll kind of get through reviewing all of this. So while we're at it, you can just casually be watching. While we're at it, you just feel free to watch me do a little bit of redraw from some old piece I worked on from 2018 for a friend. So I wasn't able to do any recording with the sketching due to some hardware issues with OBS, and my computer was kind of just a little bit outdated with some things, but let's get to reviewing the actual thing. So sadly, I was supposed to do a little bit of extra stuff regarding testing this out on other things, such as using an OSU, as it claims to be one of the best, or the perfect mouse replacement for OSU, and also maybe try a Minecraft or Team Fortress, seeing how I've done that with some of my older drawing tablets. So, but for the sake of this, we're going to be just cutting it down to just only the art kind of side of things, where I'm using Krita and just showing some coloring and shading and all that extra stuff. And I guess kind of just I'll talk about how my other time using it outside of it, maybe just for classwork for fun, seeing how I didn't have a mouse on my little trip to California a few weeks ago. So the pen itself, actually, no, my bad. I should start off with the actual tablet itself. The tablet itself is pretty small. Comparison, it's a little bit bigger than a 3x4 picture or a little photo. It's the little active area is actually 6x4 inches, and the actual height or the length is what is it, 218 millimeters by 130 millimeters. So a good estimate should be kind of like around my hand, semi and open up. And also it's pretty thin, like, surprising enough. So if you're a little worried about it breaking or something, you should take that in consideration, but that's not much to worry about, even if you're taking care of it. Now, one of the best things I noticed is that this is a pretty portable little tablet. So that's a little plus that I can notice, that allows me to just take it on the go without having something as big and clunky as maybe like a Galmon or like a Wacom. So you can give some little points for that. Another thing I like to know is I liked about it was how I'm just pulling it up at the moment. That I was first expecting this to be one of those things where it would have a HDMI cord or a little cable thing you would plug it into your computer. So that's what I was going to use for my old computer, because I was the only one that kind of supports that kind of stuff. But surprisingly, this only has a USB cord, so that means it's both available on older computers and also newer stuff like, say, my Surface Pro 6 that only has a little cord for USBs. Another notable thing that doesn't really highlight as much is that it comes with these two little, I guess you could say, just knobs. They kind of come off as weird at first, but then you look into it and you realize this is actually it also supports using mobile devices. I wasn't able to do this on my phone, but yes, you can get a little adapter, and you can just plug it into where like your little phone charger would be. So like, say mine's an Android, and I put it in there, and it worked from there. I have yet to use that feature yet, but so far, I have to give some little one-ups for that as well. Just it's a little bit more accessible than like other devices and other tablets. Now, as for like, the pen itself, personally, I didn't feel too much about the pen. Like, not good, not bad. Then again, I haven't used a lot of them in my time, but this one kind of felt pretty neat. I don't have much to say specifically on, say, the buttons it has. Usually I have problems with those on like all kinds of pens, but these ones, I think I was getting pretty much getting the same amount of like issues as in like accidentally pressing it, because that's just kind of the way I hold my pens, especially how I've been doing it in high school and writing papers and essays. But sometimes I've actually had instances where I had to use the buttons, or no, I used it for my own curiosity, and it actually did help me sometimes, just making the process a little bit faster. And other times I'm not really doing a good job at reviewing the actual thing itself. I'm just kind of winging it and going off of what I thought generally. But I guess we could go into more of just how it felt with working on something smaller scaled and not as used to looking on the screen. So I guess we would start off with how I feel with using the screen personally, and sometimes mouse and keyboard. Usually during that time, it does feel easy since I can know where I'm putting all my stuff at. But like especially coloring and shading and all that, I have full control. But one of the biggest problems I've had was when I would just use my pen at times. It just doesn't want to work. You have to recalibrate it and everything. As for the VEIKK, the pen was actually pretty neat when I'm trying to get everything filled in. What's the perfect way to explain it, or just how I felt? I mean, I kind of just took my time slowly, but surely, and that was kind of just, it kind of felt relaxing. I could just work. I surprisingly knew what I was putting the pen at. I was taking my time to look at on the screen as well, and I didn't have any issues where I just had to look back and forth. I just had to look straight at the screen. I guess that's the little magic that everybody using these kind of tablets have to go through. So, but also, one of the harder things for me with these tablets was that it wasn't really the perfect kind of tablet when it came to using line art. That's personally just me and how I felt about it. If you notice, like in the beginning of the video, if I happen to zoom in on the canvas, the picture, like the line art for the sketch, was really, really terrible. It was what's the word for it? Yeah, it was pretty scratchy or shaky. When you go in there, it looks like a complete mess. So that's when I had to like turn gears to something else just to actually do the line art and proceed forward. Otherwise, I would have been having the hardest time of my life and not even be able to at least record this. There wasn't much I can really think of outside of that. It was just it was a new experience for me, and I felt really impressed by it. It was something this small, and for like around $30, $35. I might have to put check up on it later, look at the price again. But for a little small thing like this was something a little perfect for my computer, at least the newer ones, and it might be even better for something like, say, my phone. Even though I have an older phone, it's still going to be a little bit perfect idea to work with. I don't need like any big tablet, or I don't need to use my fingers since my fingers are really pretty big. But besides the point, this was the VEIKK. Sadly wasn't able to really review on the OSU part, but I'll take my word from others saying that it was a pretty good one, a pretty good pen to use, and pretty good tablet as in work with the little open space, the active area. But other things I should notice is that it does actually support left-handed mode and right-handed mode. I had a hard time with a bit of the drivers, but that was on my end. But other than that, I really had a pretty positive experience. Things that I personally, when it came to working with this, on how I felt with the good and bad, the bad sides were mostly on my end. I was just more getting used to something new. And if I was asking for something like a buttons on the actual tablet, that'd probably be stretching a little too far, and that's something you would put in the, or at least I would put in the beyond amazing category, because that's something probably a little too advanced for right now. And as for something that's with $35, this is a really good tablet to work with. Personally, in the context of it, I think that this is actually one of the best gifts you can actually give to somebody for, say, if they're trying to get new into digital drawing. I know that one of my cousins has been getting into trying to at least get into digital work, and I can't recommend this more than anything else, especially for something that isn't really high-end pricey and working on a little budget size, especially for something like Secret Santa. This is probably one of the best things you can get, if not the best. But other than that, I don't have much to say. I'm not really that good at reviewing things, but I just wanted to share how I felt about working with this. I wish I had more time working on, or at least trying out with other things like, say, OSU and playing Team Fortress. But that'll be for another day. But on the art side of things, this was actually a pretty decent, or not decent, a really good tablet to work on. Am I hoping to work with this in the future? Definitely. For something that isn't screen tablets, yes, I would say so. And this is a really small design. It's really good for pocket size, and you don't need like a hefty bag to at least pull around, or have to unscrew anything. All you need is just your actual thing itself, the pen, and maybe an adapter depending on if you're going to be using it on your phone to go. And other than that, this is actually really it. I'd give it like around a 9 out of 10. For something that's really small and really budgety, this is a good recommendation for it. Now, if you're going to try to sell me something that was even smaller than this, I'd say it's probably a little too small. But, and this is kind of just the right size. It's around the same size. It's around a little bit bigger than, like I say, a 3x4 picture, and that's kind of like the normal frames that people would use to put around their house. And so that's a big enough space for a small kind of like tablet. But yeah, that was my review on the VEIKK S640. Sorry, this is my first actual kind of one or at least a review of anything. So things are a little bit rocky, and I'm not too sure on everything exactly. But overall, I had a pretty positive experience working with this, especially during my trip over to California when I was not able to work on a ton of things. But hopefully you had a good time, at least watching the speed painting in the background. It was somewhat after I was trying to solve some basic issues, and And hopefully this review of some sorts, even if it's rough around the edges, gives you a little insight on the VEIKK S640, on how it works, and if you should buy it or not. And if you need a little rundown again, I personally say yes. This is actually a nice little tablet to work with, especially if you're working on a budget, or if you don't want to, if you want to get something for a friend who's just getting started with digital and just making that transition from paper to computer. Other than that, thank you for coming to my little review, and that'll be all. Bye.
And it's a USB connector for use with most laptops. This is the tablet, and as you can see, the usable art surface goes between these two white lines all the way down and all the way up. It's about a 4x6 inch usable surface. This is the tablet pen case. I really like VEIKK tablets because they all come with these little cases to keep your pen in so that ideally you don't lose it the way you lose most tablet pens. And then this is the pen itself. It's pretty light with a matte texture and two buttons down here at the bottom, one for right-clicking and one for switching what pen tool you're on. It also comes with several extra pen nibs for when you have to change them eventually. So for this part, I'm going to sort of show off some of the functions of the tablet. It's a smaller workspace than I'm used to working with, but it's really easy to work with. I guess it's made me pay a little more attention to small details because I can't make large sweeping motions across this tablet like I can. I did this whole sketch already using the tablet because I don't like to start videos with nothing on my screen. So I'm going to show off a little bit of lining and a little bit of coloring and then call it a day. But for sketching, just for reference, the pen pressure is quite nice. You can get a lot out of it. This is a terrible face that I'm drawing in this corner, but that's fine. It's the scary vampire man. But yeah, the pen pressure is very nice. We're going to erase that and then go into lining and coloring. I'm not going to line the whole thing or color the whole thing because that would take me several hours and no one wants to watch that. So, going to just show off some of the intricacies. I really like how responsive it is. So I don't have to touch very much for it to do things, which is nice. Because I don't like pressing very hard when I work. And it's just very good at responding. It takes almost nothing for me to line this. Go down and line some of the bustle so you can see some of the way it does curves a little better because my sketch of the face is quite flat.
4x3 Inch